My name is Cheryl Beasley, and I'm 32 years old. For most of my life, I've been the quiet one in the family, the one who had it all together. I work in tech here in Seattle, a steady job with good pay and decent benefits. I live alone in a small apartment overlooking Lake Union. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. And because I've done well for myself, I've always believed it's only right to help family when they need it. That's what you do when you love people, you show up for them. At least that's what I used to think. I have a younger sister, Vanessa, 6 years my junior, who could talk a thunderstorm into giving her sunshine. She's beautiful, charming, and perpetually the victim of her own choices. Growing up, she was the family's golden girl, the kind who could spill juice on the couch and somehow convince Mom it was my fault for distracting her. When I was 16, I worked part-time at a hardware store to save up for college. Every dollar felt like a step closer to freedom. Then one afternoon, Mom sat me down at the kitchen table with that syrupy tone she uses when she's about to ask for something. "Sweetheart," she said, "Vanessa really needs a car for school. Just something small so she can get around. You know how hard it's been for her." I knew where this was going before she even said it. "We were wondering if you could help. Just a little. You've been saving so responsibly, your father and I are so proud." That proud was always a prelude to guilt. I remember staring down at my folded hands, knuckles pale. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her I was saving for my future, not Vanessa's convenience. But one look at Mom's expectant smile and the word caught in my throat. I gave in. Vanessa got her car, a used white sedan with a dent in the bumper she pretended not to notice, and I went back to my weekend shifts calculating how many extra months I'd have to work to rebuild my savings. That moment became a pattern. When she got into a private college out of state, my parents didn't have the money. "Maybe you could hold off on grad school," Mom suggested, "just until Vanessa's settled." When she got married, I chipped in for flowers because, according to Mom, you don't want your sister's big day to be ruined, do you? Over time, I stopped resisting. It was easier to just say yes than to fight the endless chorus of "We're family, Cheryl. We help each other." They never noticed how much it cost me, not the money, but the quiet resentment that built with every favor. Vanessa always repaid kindness with excuses. When I tried to talk about boundaries, she'd tilt her head, feigning hurt. "Cheryl, why are you so cold lately?" It's not like I asked for everything, but she did, constantly. Meanwhile, I became the background character in my own family, useful, dependable, and invisible. The responsible sister who never complained, never cried, never caused trouble. Even now, at 32, my parents can't see me as anything but the safety net for Vanessa's messes. If she sneezes, I'm the tissue. If she falls, I'm the cushion. And yet, no matter how much I give, it's never enough. They celebrate her smallest achievements like miracles, her new hobby, her mental health journey, her latest dramatic revelation about her marriage to Matt. But me, I'm the steady one, which really just means the one they don't have to worry about. Sometimes I wonder if they'd even notice if I stopped showing up. Last week, I bought everyone Christmas gifts. Thoughtful ones. A smartwatch for Dad, because he's been talking about tracking his steps. A weighted blanket for Mom, because she says she doesn't sleep well anymore. For Vanessa, a silk scarf she'd once pointed out while scrolling through Instagram. They're still sitting in a bag in my closet wrapped and labeled waiting. I don't know why I bother. Maybe habit, maybe hope. That night, as I was sipping tea and half watching the lights flicker across the lake, my phone buzzed. Mom. Her tone was unusually warm, almost too sweet. "Hi, honey, how are you?" We chatted briefly, small talk about the weather, my job, the new grocery store near their house. Then she hesitated, her voice tightening at the edges. "Listen, sweetheart, about Christmas." Something inside me went still. "What about it?" I asked. She sighed, the kind of sigh she uses when she's pretending to be gentle. "Vanessa mentioned some things you've said lately, about how you don't enjoy Christmas with us anymore, that it's become too expensive, too much about her." I blinked, frozen. "What?" "She was very hurt, Cheryl. Said you told people you dread our family holidays. And your father and I just think maybe it's best if you sit this one out." There was a ringing in my ears. "You're uninviting me for Christmas." "It's not like that, honey. We just want things to be peaceful. Vanessa's been under a lot of stress, and we don't want any tension during the holidays." I laughed. It wasn't amusement, it was disbelief bleeding into heartbreak. "So you believe her, again?" "We're not taking sides," Mom said softly. "We just think it's for the best." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight, my chest hollow. I could hear the faint jingle of Christmas music playing in the background on her end, cheerful and cruelly out of place. Finally, I said quietly, "Fine, if that's what you want." "It's not what we want," she said quickly. "We just—" "Merry Christmas, Mom." I hung up before she could finish. The apartment went silent. Outside, the city lights blurred through my tears. I wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of being misunderstood. Tired of being expendable. Tired of loving people who only reached out when they needed something. And somehow deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of it. Because people like Vanessa, they don't stop taking. Not until there's nothing left to take. And that Christmas, she was about to find out that I'd finally run out. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the couch, phone in hand, replaying the conversation over and over until the words lost meaning. Maybe it's best if you don't come this year. Not you can't, not we don't want you, but the same soft, guilt-laced language my mother always used to make betrayal sound like concern. Outside, the city was blanketed in snow. It looked peaceful, untouched. The kind of peace I'd never known. By morning, my anger had cooled into something sharper clarity. I wasn't crazy. Vanessa had lied before. She'd done it so many times it was practically her second language. But this time she'd gone too far. I opened my laptop and stared at the half-written email drafts for my work project, trying to focus. I couldn't. Every word blurred with the echo of Mom's tone, sweet rehearsed final. Then my phone buzzed again. Vanessa. For a second, I almost didn't answer. But curiosity's stupid masochistic curiosity won. Hey, sis, she chirped, her voice bright like sunlight reflecting off ice. I stayed silent. Wow, long pause. Rough morning. What do you want, Vanessa? Straight to business. Classic Cheryl. She laughed, breezy as ever. Anyway, listen, I need a little help. My grad school tuition's due soon, and Mom and Dad can't really pitch in right now. I was hoping you could. I actually laughed this time. It came out hollow. You got me uninvited to Christmas, and now you're asking for money. There was a pause, then the sound of her scoffing lightly. Oh, come on, Cheryl. Don't be dramatic. That's not what happened. Mom just thought maybe a little space would be good for everyone. Everyone, or just for you? This isn't about Christmas, she said, her tone flattening. It's about my education. I'm trying to build a future for myself, and I could really use your support right now. Her words hit me like déjà vu, every syllable perfectly rehearsed, every plea dipped in manipulation. I leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. You know, it's funny, I said quietly. Every time you say support, what you really mean is sacrifice. Mine, of course. Wow, she muttered. So now helping family is a sacrifice to you. It is when family lies about me to get their way. Cheryl, seriously, this attitude. It's why things get so tense. You twist everything. I wasn't lying. Okay. You did say Christmas feels forced sometimes. I just told Mom you were feeling that way. That's not what you told her, I snapped. You said I hate Christmas. You said I called it a waste of money. Do you even hear yourself? Vanessa's voice turned airy again, like she was brushing lint off her conscience. I think you're blowing this way out of proportion. Mom's just sensitive right now. You know how she is. I closed my eyes, exhaled slowly, then said the calmest lie I could manage. I'll think about it. Great, she said, her tone brightening. Instantly. I knew I could count on you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. The audacity of it, the way she could dismantle my place in the family one day and then ask for money the next, as if compassion had no memory. I looked around my apartment. The Christmas tree in the corner blinked weakly, tiny white lights, a few gold ornaments. It looked so small compared to the towering one at my parents' house, the one Vanessa always insisted on decorating, because she had better taste. That's when something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to cry about this anymore. I wasn't going to let her spin another story where I was the villain. I grabbed my coat and Key's snow crunching beneath my boots as I stepped out into the freezing air. The sky was a heavy gray, the kind that presses on your chest. I drove aimlessly through Seattle's quiet streets until I found myself parked outside a little coffee shop near Green Lake, the same one I used to go to in college when I needed to think. Inside, the air was warm, filled with the smell of espresso and cinnamon. I sat by the window watching strangers laugh over whipped cream and holiday lights. They looked like a commercial for happiness. And me, I was just a woman realizing that love had been conditional her entire life. I took out my phone again and scrolled through old texts with Vanessa. The pattern was undeniable. Can you spot me this time? It's just temporary. You're the only one who understands me. Each message was a tiny hook, and I'd swallowed every one. Not anymore. By the time I finished my coffee, I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to yell or send angry messages. That would just feed her narrative. No, I'd do something that would actually matter, something she couldn't twist. I called Mom. She picked up on the second ring, her voice careful. Cheryl, we need to talk, I said. All of us. You, Dad, Vanessa, and Matt. Honey, is that really necessary? Christmas is in a week. I'm not asking, I said. I'm telling you. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock. She sighed, the kind of weary sound that made me feel like the problem even when I wasn't. Cheryl, please don't make this a big thing. The holidays are stressful enough. No, I said evenly. What's stressful is being accused of things I didn't do and watching you believe every word out of Vanessa's mouth. There was a long pause, then quietly, fine, tomorrow at 6, but please try to be kind. I've been kind for 32 years, I said. Maybe it's time to be honest instead. When I hung up, I didn't feel relief, just a calm kind of determination, like the moment before a storm breaks. I stared out the window at the snow swirling under the streetlight and thought tomorrow they'll finally hear me, even if it's the last thing I ever say to them. The next evening, I pulled up to my parents' house right as the sky turned from gray to indigo. Their porch light glowed faintly through the falling snow, just like it always had. But tonight, the house didn't look like home. It looked like a stage set for a play I'd been forced to perform in too many times. I parked at the curb and sat in silence for a moment. Through the front window, I could see silhouettes moving around the living room, my mom fussing with a tray, Dad in his recliner. Vanessa's sharp laugh cutting through the air like a blade. The Christmas lights twinkled around the windows, cheerful and mocking. I took a deep breath, straightened my coat, and stepped out into the cold. When I knocked, Mom opened the door, instantly wearing that strained smile that always appeared when she was pretending everything was fine. "Hi, honey," she said, her voice bright. "We were just getting settled. Come in." The warmth from inside hit me like a wave, cinnamon candles, pine-scented air freshener, and the faint buzz of tension. Vanessa was curled on the couch in an oversized sweater, scrolling on her phone. Matt sat beside her, quiet, polite, avoiding eye contact. Dad stayed in his recliner, arms crossed, watching me like he was preparing for a scolding he didn't deserve. "Cheryl," Vanessa said flatly without looking up. "Glad you could make it." "Trust me," I said, hanging my coat on the chair. "Me too." Mom set a tray of coffee and cookies on the table as if caffeine could fix emotional decay. "Let's just all stay calm, okay?" she said softly. "It's the holidays." "Then maybe we shouldn't be lying to each other," I said. Her hand froze mid-reach for the sugar bowl. I sat across from Vanessa, our reflections tangled in the polished wood of the coffee table. "This is about Christmas," I began, "and the fact that I was uninvited because of something you said that wasn't true." Vanessa rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh my God, Cheryl, are you really doing this?" "I didn't lie. That's what you said, or at least how it came across." "Came across," I repeated, pulling out my phone, "because I have the texts, the actual words." That got her attention. Her posture stiffened just slightly. I scrolled through the conversation and handed my phone to Mom. "Here's me asking Vanessa for gift ideas for you and Dad," I said, my voice steady. I wrote, and I quote, "I don't care about the cost, I just want to get them something meaningful." Mom's eyes flicked over the message, softening as she read. And here I continued as Vanessa's reply. Mom's gaze shifted to the next bubble of text. Her lips moved as she read aloud. "Why waste money on gifts they don't even appreciate half the time?" The room went silent. Dad frowned, slightly confusion replacing indifference. Mom set the phone down slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Vanessa." "Oh, come on," Vanessa said, throwing her hands up. "You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. I didn't mean it like that." Didn't mean it like what I asked. Like accusing me of hating Christmas when you're the one who said gifts were a waste. Her smile wavered just for a second. Then she switched tactics the same way she always did. Her shoulders slumped, her voice trembled slightly. "Okay, fine," she said. "Maybe I said that, but do you even know what it's been like lately? Grad school bills. Rent, all of it. It's too much. I've been trying to keep everything together, and instead of helping, you're here attacking me." There it was, the shift. The practiced tilt of her head, the glassy eyes, the self-pity sharpened into manipulation. Mom's expression softened immediately. "Sweetheart," she said gently. "What do you mean, honey? What's been so hard?" "Everything," Vanessa whispered, pressing her hand to her chest. "I'm drowning. And now I'm being made to feel like a bad person because I vented. You have no idea how much pressure I'm under." Matt stared at his hands. He knew better than to contradict her. I clenched my jaw. "Vanessa, don't you dare," I said quietly. "Don't you dare twist this again. You didn't vent. You lied. You made me out to be selfish because you needed to protect your image." Mom turned toward me sharply. "Cheryl, that's enough. There's no need to be cruel." "Cruel," I laughed bitterly. "Mom, she's been lying about me for years. Every time she messes up, I'm the villain. Every time I say no, I'm cold. Every time she cries, you rush to defend her." "Because she's struggling," Mom said firmly. "You don't understand what she's going through. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. She's been going through something since she was 16, and you've all let her get away with it. Vanessa's tears vanished as quickly as they'd come. You think you're better than me, don't you? She hissed. You always have. Just because you make more money, you think that gives you the right to judge me. I leaned forward. No, Vanessa, I don't think I'm better. I just think I've finally had enough. Dad finally spoke, his voice low and stern. That's enough out of both of you. This is ridiculous. It's Christmas, for God's sake. No, I said, standing up. This isn't ridiculous, it's necessary. Because for once, you're all going to hear me. The room went utterly still. Even the ticking clock seemed to hold its breath. You want me to pay for Vanessa's tuition? I said, voice calm but cutting. Fine, I'll do it. I'll make the payment just like every other time I've fixed her mistakes. Mom blinked, surprised. You will? Yes. But understand this, once I send that money, I'm done. No more loans, no more gifts, no more pretending everything's fine. You can keep treating me like the family ATM if that's what you want. Just don't expect me to stick around and smile about it. Vanessa's mouth fell open. You're seriously going to cut us off over this? No, I said. Over years of this. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom's lip trembled. Dad looked away. Vanessa stared at me like she couldn't decide if she was shocked or furious. I picked up my coat and turned toward the door. You can call it ungrateful, dramatic, selfish, whatever helps you sleep at night. But this time you don't get to rewrite the story. The hallway light cast long shadows behind me as I reached for the door handle. Merry Christmas, I said quietly. Enjoy it. I stepped outside. The cold hit my face like a baptism. The snow had started again, soft and soundless, covering the driveway in a clean white sheet. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back. That night when I got home, the silence felt heavier than usual. I kicked off my boots, let my coat slide to the floor, and stood there in the dim light of my living room. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like calling anyone. No one to explain myself to. No one to apologize to for speaking the truth. Just silence, and for once it didn't scare me. I made myself a cup of tea and sat by the window. The snow had stopped, but the sky was still thick and gray, pressing down on the city like an unspoken secret. I watched a couple walk past the building hands, intertwined, laughing, their voices muffled by the cold. I tried to remember the last time I'd laughed like that with my family. I couldn't. There was no yelling after I left, no follow-up messages, no calls begging me to come back. Nothing. And that hurt more than anything. I'd expected anger, at least. Maybe a guilt-ridden voicemail from Mom, or a dramatic, "How could you do this to us?" from Vanessa. But the quiet was absolute, the kind of quiet that feels like being erased. I spent the next day going through the motions, answered work emails, took a long shower, cleaned my apartment, even though it was already spotless. Every mundane action felt like a way to fill the echoing absence. By evening, I found myself staring at my phone again. Nothing. Finally, just before midnight, it buzzed. Mom. Her name flashed on the screen like an old habit I couldn't break. Hi, Mom, I answered, my voice low. She sounded cautious, her tone dipped in sugar. Hi, sweetheart, I just wanted to check in. Make sure you're okay. I'm fine, I said flatly. It's been a really difficult time for everyone, she continued, like she was reciting from a script. I just think maybe we all said things we didn't mean. I stared at the window pane, watching my reflection flicker with the city lights. You didn't say anything, Mom. You just watched it happen. She sighed softly. I didn't want to take sides. You know that. You didn't have to, I replied. You already did. There was silence on her end, just faint breathing, the kind that comes before a half-hearted apology. I think we should all try to move forward, she said gently. It's Christmas, Cheryl. You know how your father hates tension during the holidays. No, Mom, I said, my tone calm but steady. You don't want to move forward. You want to pretend. There's a difference. Another pause, this one longer, heavier. We just want peace, she whispered. You want peace, I said. I want honesty. The words hung between us, cold and sharp. When she finally spoke again, her voice had lost its syrupy coating. If that's really how you feel, then we'll respect your decision. I almost laughed. Respect, that was new. You will, I asked, skeptical. Yes, we don't want to lose you, Cheryl. If helping Vanessa with her tuition is your way of stepping back, we'll accept that. But it hurts. You've always been such a big part of this family. That word part cut deep. A part that only exists when you need something, I said quietly. That's not fair, she replied quickly, her voice trembling. We've always appreciated what you've done for us. Maybe I said, but you never showed it. She didn't argue this time, just silence again. I'll transfer the tuition, I said after a long pause. It'll go directly to her school account. After that, I'm done. Thank you, she whispered, like I'd just agreed to keep the family from falling apart one more time. I ended the call before she could say anything else. The room felt darker than before. I turned off the lamp, walked over to my desk, and opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before I started typing. Bank portal, transfer funds, recipient university billing office. The numbers glowed on the screen too high for what Vanessa deserved, too familiar to shock me. When I hit send, the confirmation email appeared almost instantly. And that was it, my final act of devotion, my last favor. I closed the laptop and leaned back, exhaling slowly. The hum of the radiator filled the room. Outside snow began to fall again, soft and relentless. In the reflection of the window, I saw myself tired, hollow-eyed, but oddly at peace. For years, I'd bought my way into love, convinced that generosity would earn me belonging. But love that has to be bought isn't love at all. It's currency. I whispered it aloud, the truth I'd been avoiding for years. This is the last time I buy my way into love. The words tasted like freedom and grief all at once. The next morning, sunlight cut through the blinds, spilling across the floor like an apology I hadn't asked for. For the first time in weeks, I didn't wake up to a dozen missed calls or guilt-laden texts. Just quiet, real quiet. I brewed a pot of coffee and stood by the window as the city came alive below me. Buses humming, neighbors, scraping ice off their cars, kids laughing as they trudged through snowbanks. Life kept going, even when love didn't. A tiny part of me wondered if my family even noticed the silence I'd left behind. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. Mom's name. I almost let it ring out, but curiosity, it always wins, got me. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, her voice overly cheerful. "How was your Christmas?" "It was good," I replied. "Quiet." "Ours too," she said quickly. "A little too quiet, honestly. We missed you." Her words were soft, but there was that familiar undertone, the guilt she wrapped up like a gift. "I'm sure it was fine," I said. "Is there something you needed?" There was a small pause before she sighed. "I just wanted to check in. Make sure you're okay." "I'm fine," I said, and meant it. "It's just—" She hesitated. "The house felt so empty without you here. Your dad barely spoke. Vanessa, well, she's been having a rough time. I think she misses her sister." That one almost made me laugh. "Does she?" I asked. "Or does she just miss the convenience?" Cheryl Mom chided gently. "Don't be unkind." "I'm not," I said softly. "I'm just being honest. You said you wanted peace, right? Sometimes peace costs connection. That's the price." She didn't respond right away. I could almost hear her chewing on the words, trying to reshape them into something easier to swallow. "Well," she said finally, "I just hope you'll come around. We need you in our lives." "No, Mom," I said quietly. "You want me in your lives. That's different from needing me." Her silence said everything. We ended the call politely, the way strangers end small talk at a bus stop. When I set my phone down, I realized something strange. My hands weren't shaking. For years, every confrontation left me trembling, terrified of being the villain. But now the calm wasn't forced. It was earned. I turned on some music, just soft jazz, and started tidying up. The Christmas gifts I'd bought for them still sat in the closet, wrapped and untouched. I stared at them for a long moment before finally taking them out and unwrapping each one. The watch, the blanket, the silk scarf, they were just objects, now symbols of effort that had gone unseen. I put them all in a donation box. That evening, I joined a few friends for dinner at a small restaurant near Pike Place. Warm lights, clinking glasses, the hum of laughter that felt real, unforced. No guilt trips, no careful tiptoeing around someone else's feelings, just presence. As I told a story about an awkward office secret Santa, my friend Maya leaned in and said, "You seem lighter lately." I smiled. I guess I stopped carrying what wasn't mine. When I got home later, there was an email waiting. The sender's name stopped me cold. From Vanessa. The subject line read, "Can we start over?" My stomach twisted as I opened it. It was long pages long. The kind of message that hides manipulation behind pretty words. She apologized, sort of. Talked about how things got out of hand. How she'd never meant for it to go that far. She thanked me for helping her with tuition. Then came the real reason. She wrote, "I miss you, Cheryl. You're the only person who's ever really understood me. I want us to fix this. I know we've both made mistakes." Both. That word burned. Equal blame, equal guilt, her favorite trick. For a second, I almost replied. I even typed the first line. "You don't miss me. You miss what I did for you." Then I stopped. I deleted the draft, closed my laptop, and sat back in the quiet. No reply was the reply. Let her sit with that silence, the same silence she once forced on me. Over the next few days, I started getting small, awkward texts from my parents. "How's work? Did you see the snow today? We're making your favorite cookies." All soft little hooks, testing the water, pretending nothing had happened. But I didn't bite. I wasn't angry anymore, I was just done. The strangest thing happened after that. The guilt stopped knocking. I realized that peace wasn't loud. It didn't announce itself with joy or closure. It just settled quietly in the spaces where chaos used to live. That night, I lit a candle, curled up on my couch, and whispered to myself, "They taught me love was sacrifice. I'm teaching them love is respect." The flame flickered steady and small, and I watched it burn until the wax melted down to nothing. For once, nothing felt missing. Weeks passed. The holidays faded into the background, leaving behind that odd, hollow quiet. January always brings when the lights are gone, the decorations packed away, and people finally face the silence they've been avoiding. I used to hate this time of year. It always made me feel small, like the world had moved on while I stayed stuck in place. But this year it felt different. The quiet wasn't loneliness anymore, it was mine. Every morning I woke to sunlight filtering through my curtains instead of a dozen unread messages. No guilt-laced voicemails, no emergencies that weren't mine to fix. Just the sound of my own breathing, and that was enough. At work, people noticed the change before I did. My boss said I seemed more focused. A coworker said I looked lighter. I didn't tell them why. Some transformations don't need to be announced. They just unfold quietly like a bruise fading from the inside out. Still, traces of my family lingered like echoes in another room. A missed call from mom here, a forwarded meme from dad there. Harmless little gestures, small reminders that they were still circling, still testing the edges of my absence. And then one night, Vanessa called. For a moment, I just stared at her name lighting up my phone. My pulse kicked up. Every instinct told me to ignore it. But after a long breath, I answered. "Hey," she said, her voice unusually soft. "I didn't think you'd pick up." I almost didn't. There was a nervous laugh on her end. "Yeah, I deserve that." A beat of silence, then quietly, "I just wanted to say thank you for helping with school and for everything before that. I know I haven't always made it easy." It wasn't much of an apology, but it was the closest thing I'd ever get. "You didn't make it easy," I said, careful but calm. "But that's not really what this is about anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not angry, Vanessa. I just don't have space for what used to be between us. I hope you finish school. I hope you do well. But I can't go back." The line went quiet. I could hear her swallow. "So that's it?" she asked, voice trembling. "You're really done with me?" "No," I said softly. "I'm done being the version of me that made you comfortable." She didn't reply right away. When she finally spoke, her tone was small, almost childlike. "Mom says you're different now." "She's right," I said. "I finally learned what boundaries feel like." Another silence, longer this time. Then, "I guess I should go. Take care, Vanessa." And I ended the call. It didn't hurt, not like it used to. It just ended. Clean. Afterward, I stood by the window again, watching the city lights flicker against the glass. The snow had melted, leaving the streets slick and dark, but there was something freeing about the emptiness outside. For years, I thought family was an equation I had to balance: give enough, forgive enough, prove enough, and I'd finally earn my place. But boundaries don't ruin love. They reveal who's willing to meet you halfway. A few days later, a letter arrived, handwritten in my mother's neat cursive. It wasn't an apology, she wasn't quite capable of that, but it was something. "We just want you to know we're proud of you. We don't say it enough. Maybe we didn't realize how much you've done for this family until you stopped doing it." I read it twice, folded it neatly, and placed it in a drawer. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just recognition. And for now, that was enough. That night, I lit another candle, the same brand as before. The flame flickered in the dark, small but steady. I watched it reflect in the window, dancing against the faint shimmer of the city skyline. For a moment, I thought about calling Mom back just to say hi. But then I smiled and didn't. Not out of spite, out of peace. Not everything broken needs fixing. Some things just need distance to breathe. I curled up on the couch with a blanket and whispered to myself, half prayer, half promise. I used to think family meant obligation. Now I know it's the people who don't ask you to earn your place. And with that, I let the quiet fill the room again. Not heavy, not lonely, just whole.